Redback here. We're going to do a race review of the first IndyCar race of the season, the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. Held in St. Petersburg, Florida, this race had a thrilling start to the IndyCar season. From the first lap, we already have an incident. The race actually had to be red flagged. Felix Rosenqvist had a bounce of Scott Dixon's left rear wheel and sent Rosenqvist into the wall. Satini Ferrucci hits from behind Helio Castroneves, and Benjamin Peterson T-bones and launches Steven Francesco's car airborne, and it does a 180 spin. 7 cars were involved in this wreck. Nobody was seriously hurt, but several cars, their race was over for the day. Several cars decided to pit under the yellow, and we were back to green flag racing on lap 5. The race did settle down, and we didn't have any more yellow flags for a while. As of lap 10, the top 3 were Romain Grosjean, Colton Herta, and Pato O'Ward. This year in the IndyCar season, drivers have to run 2 compounds, the primary and the alternative compound. The primary is the harder compound, whereas the alternative is the softer compound. It doesn't matter when you run them, but you must run at least 1 compound 1 time during the race. And around the lap 27 to 29 mark, we start having pit stops from the likes of Kyle Kirkwood, Colton Herta, Christian Lundgaard. Scott Dixon also came in on lap 30. And Romain Grosjean came into the pits on lap 33. He was able to get a long stint out of his tires. Will Power came into the pits on lap 36 with his Verizon Chevy. Scott McLaughlin comes out of the pits and has a battle with Romain Grosjean. He's able to keep his position on the inside on turn 4, even though he's on cold tires. Remember I said this race was full of action, right? Well, lap 37, another yellow flag. Connor Daly spins and stalls his car after being tagged by Kyle Kirkwood. This brings out another yellow flag, but it doesn't last for long, and by lap 42 we're back to green flag racing. Before the end of lap 42, we already have another wild scene that starts to emerge. Rinus Veekay slid into the tires at turn 4, and Jack Harvey had nowhere to go. Then Kyle Kirkwood struck Jack Harvey and went airborne. This is the second car to go airborne for the race. Kyle Kirkwood was able to hobble back to the pits, but Jack Harvey was pretty banged up. It took him a while to get out of his car. While Rinus Veekay was out on the spot, his day was over. This was a pretty serious crash, but nobody was seriously hurt. There was a yellow flag, and Kyle Kirkwood came into the pits to get a new wing installed on his car. Just a reminder to like and subscribe. We're trying to build the subscribers up. Like and subscribe. So we're back to green flag racing on lap 49. Green flag racing again, we have another incident. Will Power tries to make a move on Colton Herta. He finds the door closed and he's bumped wide, and Herta draws alongside him and they make contact, and Herta ends up in the tires at turn 8. Will Power seemed to deem at fault, and he had to serve a drive-through penalty. Colton Herta race day was over. His Andretti car was out. Another Andretti car was out for the day. They're not having a great day. Will Power had to serve a drive-through penalty, was able to continue. And then we go back to green flag racing on about lap 55. We're able to stay incident-free. This is one of the longest stints of the race where there's no incidents and no yellow flags. We get to the next round of pit stops, which occur at around the lap 70 mark. We have a few of the drivers coming into the pits. Alexander Rossi, along with Scott Dixon, also comes into the pits. But coming up here, this was an interesting pit stop. Scott McLaughlin comes into the pits. Relatively routine pit stop, but it's what happens after the pit stop. So after his team gets done with him and they send him back out, as Scott McLaughlin comes out of the pits, he's side by side with Romain Grosjean. With Romain Grosjean on the outside and Scott McLaughlin on the inside. This is an intense battle. Both drivers don't want to give an inch of space. McLaughlin is on the inside where Grosjean is on the outside. So this is a battle for 3rd and 4th place, but in the end, they both end up in the tires. Grosjean went from pole to now being out of the race, where McLaughlin was able to get bump started and was able to continue the race, even though he eventually being down a few laps. Not a great day for Grosjean. He was doing so well at this point. It also led to a yellow flag. Another yellow flag for the race. This race has quite a few. That's why I was saying this race was definitely action-packed, not a dull moment. This race had quite a few incidents. The good thing is nobody was seriously hurt, so it's just racing incidents or accidents. You know, they can't always be avoided. So the top 3 up front were O'Ward, Ericsson, and Scott Dixon. We had A few laps of green flag racing, and with 5 laps to go, Josef Newgarden's car caught fire. He was able to make it back to the pits, and that's where his race ended. The car was on fire, but they were able to put the fire out when they got back to the pits. So this race has had cars going airborne, crashes, cars hitting tire barriers, along with cars catching fire. I'm starting to think Michael Bay is directing this race. So with 4 laps to go, O'Ward gets sideways, and he has a pendulum issue. He causes the car to burp, basically lose power. Ericsson ducks around him and takes the lead, and he does not relinquish the lead for the rest of the race. He was in the top 10 all day from even lap 3, but at the end he was able to hold on and finish this race and grab valuable points for the first race of the IndyCar season. Actually, it's really a good race. There was a lot of action. I was very well surprised. I'm going to have to give this race at least I'm going to give it an 8.5. He races for Chip Ganassi Racing. Marcus Ericsson, with his Honda, was able to win this race. Congrats to him and his team. We're going to be doing more racing videos. We'll be covering the Indy season along with Formula 1 and MotoGP as we expand the type of racing and racing videos we'll be giving you for the channel. So I hope you enjoyed the race. Like and subscribe. Redbet signing off.